In the quiet suburbs of Indiana, there stands a large farmhouse surrounded by acres of green fields. A smiling family by the pool, children laughing, a barbecue on a summer afternoon. The picture of the perfect life. But beneath that soil, a terrible secret was buried for years. When police began digging in the summer of 1996, the earth started to give up its secrets. Human bones, hundreds of them. This is the story of a man who looked like the perfect father, but who turned into a monster when the sun went down. This is the story of Herb Baumeister. The Curse of Fox Hollow. Herbert Richard Baumeister was born on April 7, 1947, in Indianapolis, Indiana. His father was a respected doctor. His mother, a homemaker. From the outside, the family looked normal, even privileged. But Herb was always different. At school, he struggled to make friends. He made disturbing jokes about death and decay. A teacher would later describe him as quiet but unsettling. As a teenager, Herb became obsessed with dead animals, often dissecting carcasses he found. His father sent him to a psychiatrist who noted signs of schizotypal personality disorder. But in 1960s America, mental illness was considered a family shame. He was never treated. As he grew older, Herb learned how to pretend. He learned how to smile, how to act normal, how to mirror what people expected of him. But deep inside, something dark was taking shape. In 1971, Herb met a young woman named Julie Sater. They married and eventually had 3 children. Herb drifted through various jobs: newspaper editor, car salesman, even a short stint in a government office. He was ambitious, desperate to prove himself to be somebody. In 1988, he finally started his own business, Save-A-Lot Thrift Stores, a chain of second-hand shops. It was an odd venture, but it made money. Within a few years, Herb was wealthy. Wealth brought him status. In 1991, he bought a sprawling 15-acre estate in Westfield, Indiana, called Fox Hollow Farm. A private driveway, indoor pool, manicured lawns, surrounded by trees. The picture success. But that privacy also gave Herb something else: isolation. Julie noticed his temper, his late-night disappearances, his long hours locked in the bathroom, and the basement room he forbade anyone from entering. At night, after his family went to sleep, Herb would get in his car and drive downtown to Indianapolis. He began frequenting gay bars. There, he introduced himself as someone else, Brian Smart. Charming, well-dressed, generous. He bought drinks, told jokes, made people comfortable. And then, he invited them to his house with a pool. That house was Fox Hollow. Some of the men who went home with him were never seen again. In 1993, one man escaped and went to the police. He said,
"He called himself Brian Smart. He took me to a house with a pool. He said he liked breath play strangulation. I thought he was joking, but his eyes, they weren't joking."
The police looked for Brian Smart, but there was no record of such a person. Between 1993 and 1996, dozens of young men vanished around Indianapolis. All fit the same pattern: gay, in their 20s, last seen leaving the same bars. The police even had a term for it: the gay disappearances. But few in authority cared. Homophobia, ignorance, indifference. And Herb used all of it to his advantage. At the end of 1995, Save-A-Lot stores began to struggle. Herb's strange behavior had started to affect his work as well. One customer described him as cold, aggressive, and paranoid. At home, Julie's unease turned to fear. The smell of burning plastic in the garage, the strange bone fragments near the woods, and one night, the children found a human skull by the pool. When she confronted Herb, he told her, "It's probably from an old animal." But the lies couldn't cover the dread growing inside her. In early 1996, detectives reopened the missing persons cases. One investigator was tracking the elusive Brian Smart. Then, one night in a bar, he finally saw him and wrote down the license plate of his car. In June 1996, Police prepared to search Fox Hollow Farm. They needed Julie's permission. The property was in her name. Terrified but determined, she let them in while Herb was away. Officers began digging behind the house. Within minutes, they hit something. A human bone, then another, and another. An arm, ribs, a jawbone with teeth still intact. The deeper they dug, the worse it became. The ground was filled with thousands of bone fragments. Forensic experts determined they belonged to at least 11 individuals, all young men. The farmhouse had become a graveyard. Bones in the woods, near the pool, under the gravel driveway, everywhere they looked, death was waiting. When police tried to locate Herb, he was already gone. Herb Baumeister fled days before the raid. He drove north, using his credit cards along the way toward Canada. On July 3rd, 1996, his car was found near Pinery Park in Ontario. Inside was a note. It read,
"My business is failing. My wife doesn't understand me. Life has no meaning anymore."
No mention of the murders. No confession. Nothing. Nearby in the woods, Herb's body was found. He had shot himself in the head. In total, more than 5,500 bone fragments were recovered from Fox Hollow Farm. Only 4 victims were ever identified. The rest remained nameless. The house was later sold to new owners, but peace never returned. The new residents reported strange occurrences. Footsteps in the halls, doors opening by themselves, whispers in the dark. One paranormal investigator claimed to see a figure standing by the pool. Today, Fox Hollow Farm is known as one of America's most haunted houses. But what's truly terrifying isn't the ghosts. It's the reality that Herb Baumeister lived for years among normal people, a smiling father, a respected businessman. And no one saw the monster behind the mask. The story of Herb Baumeister isn't just a tale of murder. It's a story about what happens when society ignores the voices of the marginalized. If the police had taken the disappearances of those young men seriously, maybe those bones would still be living souls. But Fox Hollow still stands. And when the wind blows through the trees, it's said you can almost hear a whisper from beneath the soil. We're still here, because the past never really stays buried. It just goes quiet like the nights at Fox Hollow.